Welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I have an endless TBR. Today is a brief rundown of the books that I read in the month of February. So for those of you who have not seen my Uplit vlog, which I'll put up in the cards just for a little more airtime, I had a rough couple of weeks toward the beginning of February. In the same week, I lost both my grandfather and my father-in-law. And the planning around services and how to help the family members remaining took a lot of reading time, a lot of brain time, and made it really hard to focus in on fictional stories when real life needed a lot in this particular time frame. The next week on Valentine's Day, I also lost my family dog. My parents had to make the difficult decision to put her down at the age of 13. So it was a rough month. So I read 9 books this month, which is a little short for me. I have 3 book clubs, so I have to read those books. I read a couple of manga, which don't take as long to read. So that's how I still got to 9, and nothing to scoff at. It's just less than what I normally consume in a month. So I read a total of 2,762 pages, which is an average of 98 pages per day. Normally I'm above that 100-page mark based on audiobooks. Again, the volumes of manga or graphic novels that I consume tend to help increase the total page number. For format is a little surprising. I read 5 books physically and 4 of them as audiobooks. As I keep mentioning, I read 2 volumes of manga, so that would all fall into the physical category, either that or an ebook, but I did have these in physical copy, as well as a memoir that I was very interested in reading and did not have access to an audiobook. So I did read that physically. All of my books came from the library this month. I did not read anything off of my shelf, and the audiobooks are the same thing. They all came from my library. I didn't read anything that I had owned previously. So that's a bummer, but we'll keep an eye on that and see if we can change those numbers around a little bit. For publication details, I did not read anything that was a brand new published book. I read 3 titles that were published in 2022, and the rest of them were older than that. So the manga came from the late 90s. That was published in 1997. And I read a couple of things in the early 2010s. And then for authors, I really did not do a great job at diversifying my reading in this month. Some of that had to do with the uplit genre, which was heavily focused on white authors. So for the race or ethnicity of the authors I read, 4 out of 5 titles were written by Black, Indigenous, or people of color, meaning 5 of the authors I read this month were white or presumed white. For LGBTQ stats, as you can see, no author I read from that I could find was openly queer. I read a collection of short stories, and some of the authors are not white. Some of the authors are queer in some way, but since I don't know all of those numbers or those who are openly LGBTQ, I guess I wasn't looking to pry into anybody's business. We'll see what we can do next month to change that statistic around, because I'm not pleased with that. And finally, genres. I read a couple of general fiction titles. There's 3 there. 1 fantasy, 1 romance, 2 mystery. And then I read a general nonfiction title called Books Promiscuously Read by Heather Cass White, and a memoir by Alice Wong called The Year of the Tiger. Both of those I very much enjoyed, but I really only had one standout book, and that was my book and pub club selection for this month. We read Night Crawling by Layla Motley. And you've probably already heard about this book before. It was Oprah Book Club's pick last year, and Layla Motley is like the youngest author to ever be selected for Oprah's Book Club. She's longlisted for the Booker Prize for Literature, probably going to be up there with the Women's Prize for Fiction this year. This book is a remarkable debut by a really young author and a really excellent selection for a book club discussion because of the way Motley explores individuals and their interactions with social systems, and then how those systems are so far gone that it's a wonder that anyone is able to get help from social services. This novel is based on a series of true events, and we get to explore the characters in a way that you would never see in the media. It's a fictionalized story, but the obvious love and familiarity that the author has with Oakland as a setting and its community bring the story to life and provide some levity throughout these really traumatic events that are happening in our young characters' lives. While I would highly recommend this story, it is not an easy book to read. Please check trigger warnings or content warnings if you feel that that's necessary. But if you can handle it, definitely a really powerful story with well-told characters at its center and a beautiful community that Layla Motley clearly knows a lot about and has so much love for. With that, I'll ask if you have any standout titles that you read in the month of February. If you don't have anything that comes to mind, leave me a book stack emoji in the comments, like this video if you've liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.